Shalom. This is to all Israelite groups and all Israelite communities and all breakoffs from One West and breakoffs from breakoffs from breakoffs from breakoffs. No matter what rainbow uniform you wear, red, white, purple and white, all white, it don't matter. You should all treat the ISUPK like your weird, misunderstood Sabbaths. You shouldn't do anything until you counsel with the ISUPK. We'll tell you when and what to eat. We'll tell you who to marry. We'll tell you who to have sex with and how. We'll tell you how to resolve conflicts with your wives. We'll tell you how to resolve conflicts with your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your friends, everybody. We'll tell you when and how to pray. We'll tell you how to direct your life in a way that's pleasing to the Most High God of Israel and our Black King Yahushua, a.k.a. Jesus Christ. We will be to you instead of a God. Just like the Most High told Moses in Exodus 4:16 that Aaron would be to him instead of a mouth and he would be to Aaron instead of a God, that's what we'll do for you. It is what you all need because none of you know what the fuck you are doing. I pray you understand. Shalom.
All right, mic check. Salaki, let me make sure this audio is to up before we get started. Let me open up these comments. Salaki. Mic check. All right. Salakia. All right, Shalom Israel. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. This is the ISUPK Killeen Friday Night Lashawan Qadash class, where, as always, we break down the scriptures from a linguistics perspective. I mean, something that your Christian pastors have always been ill-equipped to do. I mean, because their intention isn't to teach you the truth according to the Bible. Their intention is to teach you the doctrine that they were taught by their oppressor. That's why they believe that Christ ain't got no color, even though the scriptures clearly describe Christ as being a black man. That's why they say color ain't in the Bible, even though the scriptures describe Christ, the prophets, the apostles, and even the angels as black. You know what I mean? That's why they believe God loves everybody, even though the Bible says, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. That's why they believe the Most High hates the sin but loves the sinner, even though the scriptures say the Most High hates sinners. I mean, because Salakia, their goal isn't to teach you the truth according to the Bible. Their goal is to teach you, you know what I mean, the doctrine that they was given in our captivity when we were in supervised plantation churches. You know what I mean, but like here in the ISUPK, we've been teaching the truth according to the Bible since 1969. That blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites, the true chosen people of the Most High God, from the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name was turned to Israel, and then gave, you know what I mean, was the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel that you see today. You know what I mean, who were scattered to the four corners of the earth into various captivities. You know what I mean, all throughout history, all throughout the Bible. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. No matter what platform you watching on, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or whatever you got to do. Share it with your loved ones, share it with whoever. I mean, whether you disagree, and you can always hit that QR code in that top corner, and morning, noon, and night, there'll be somebody in that chat to answer all your questions, solve all your problems. All right. With that, uh, while we live, of course, you can go ahead and ask all your questions. Put your questions in the chat, and we'll address them. We'll go ahead and address your questions. Last week what are we going to last week? I believe we was going over the 12 tribes. All right, like it. Uh, but I'm gonna give it a little bit of time for brothers and sisters to come in, start checking in and all of that before I go into any further depth. I'm gonna go into further depth into that, and also I believe the title for last week was the Hakach breakdown, which is the prayer for the power in the Hebrew. Uh, so we'll also go into that, but I'm gonna give it a couple minutes. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time. So lock you. Bear with me 1 second. All right, Salaki for that. All right. If you got any questions or comments, you can always put them in the chat. As I said before, the two topics we was going over earlier, or not earlier, last week, which was the prayer for the power in the Hebrew, and what was it? The 12 tribes, which I believe we was in. Can't remember the book and chapter, but we went into. I believe we went into Genesis, the 30th chapter, and was going into the details of each brother, each one of the forefathers of each tribe, and what their name meant, the pronunciation, uh, and things like that. All right. Uh, but we're gonna hold off on those topics for a little bit, give it about half an hour or so, and then we're gonna pick back up. In the meantime, while we doing that, or while we waiting for brothers and sisters to start the coming to the, you know what I mean, coming to the live stream, I'm gonna go into what we're gonna go into tonight, or not tonight, Slakia, during Sabbath service, right? Right, Sabbath service is Friday night sundown, or Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. I mean, and every week in this time frame, we do a Sabbath service, right? Where we actually read the Hebrew. We say the prayers in the Hebrew. You know what I mean? Which is where a lot of, you know what I mean, where you can learn a lot in the Hebrew, basically. Like, for example, like the two subjects, you know what I mean, that I just went over a second ago, those come from Sabbath service, right? That's where you learn the Hebrew. not only learn, it's not only where you learn the Hebrew, but it's where you apply the Hebrew, right? So Friday, Lashawan Qadash class, you ask your questions. Uh, it's like you ask your questions, um, and we can go into a little bit more detail, right? You ask your question, you can get breakdowns. We can go into, give examples. You can practice writing it. That's why we have the whiteboard. We got, a large whiteboard. We got the smaller whiteboard if you want to practice personally. Uh, and that's why you will bring a notebook and things like that so that you can practice writing and reading and speaking the Hebrew. We practice forming sentences, things like that. So you can go into any topic, ask any questions. We even go into scriptures. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times the misunderstandings that the Christian church has, where they think all the things I mentioned before, that they think God loves everybody, that when the scriptures say love thy neighbor, that means love everybody, and things like that. A lot of those come from, them not knowing the Hebrew, them not understanding the language that the Bible is written in, or the language of the culture that the Bible is written about. All right. So Friday night, you can ask all your questions, and we can go into specific, specifics like that, like I just mentioned. Saturday is where you apply it. You know what I mean? All right. So we're gonna go into that, or we're gonna go into what we're gonna go into Sabbath service. All right, we're gonna just read through it, and anything that appears, we'll just break it down as it comes, and talk about it. So lock you. So last week in Sabbath service, we left off in Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 13. All right, so that's what we're gonna be picking up. All right, make sure you got Bible Hub open, uh, which is what we use to read during Sabbath service. Believe some might be more familiar with what's it called? I forget what it's called. It'll come back to me. Blue Letter Bible, Salakia. But some might be more familiar with Blue Letter Bible. I believe either one is fine. I've seen different zones, different brothers in different cities use. Some use Bible Hub, some use Blue Letter Bible. As long as you have the Hebrew in front of you and you know the verses that we're gonna be reading. So we're gonna be in Leviticus chapter 5 and verse 13. We're gonna read 49 verses, and Salakia. Let me go to it myself. Leviticus 5 and 13. And the reason why, right? The reason why this is real. It's good to practice. It's a good practice to have. Doing this is it's gonna put everything in perspective, right? So everything that we learn during Lashawan Qadash class on Friday, everything that we learn, we're gonna be putting it in perspective, right? So prepositions, what they are, what characters mean as prepositions, possessives, what characters mean as or possessives, how they're used, what they mean, all of those different things, different tenses, all of those different things. Hey, Shalom, smarter than most. I see you checking in. Shalom, Yahweh Shemar Lathan, Bashem Yahweh Shai. Sister Dasha not checking in. I see. You know what I mean, Salaki, I've lost my train of. But when we read in Sabbath service, and brother, I don't know if you're a brother or not. Seem like you're a brother. We say shalom, shalom. You know what I mean? The old sound was in. You know what I mean? Was imposed. Was an imposed vow by our oppressor. All right. So we don't say shalom. Right. That's your oppressor imposing their language and culture on our language, which is separate. So anytime we use anything that's imposed from our oppressor, we what's the word? Most High Christ. The water. The water just means thank you, right? Or how we use it. It just means thank you. Yeah, that's all it is. Just an imposed vow from our oppressor. But yeah, using you know what I mean, in Bible Hub when we read, you get to see everything come together, right? We mentioned the prepositions, the possessives. You get to see them in action. You know what I mean, and how they're used. You get to see tenses, like the doing tense, the ing, which is I mean, funny enough, the wa in the middle, which is where shalom comes from. Uh, for the brother, I'm not harping on you. I'm just teaching. All right. It's right on topic. You just came right at perfect time. But that's where the shalom even comes from, where the wa in the middle implies a doing tense. Like just like in English, the ing at the end of a word, it it turns a uh it basically just shows something is happening in present tense. All right, that's what the wa does in the middle of a word. All right, so shalom will be the root word, and shalawam would be used as like a present tense. Like the wa in the middle, it will be used as a present tense. Like if you were doing something, like if you were doing something, right? Which is also why shalawam is incorrect, because you know what I mean, we just use like whenever you use shalom or peace as a greeting, you say shalom. When you talking about like making peace, then shalom is a word and it's perfectly fine to use it. But when you're talking about when you're using peace as a greeting, it's shalom. You take out the because we you know what I mean, our language is a very straight to the point language, right? So a lot of times, as we'll see tonight, most likely as we get into Leviticus 5 and 13 and further chapters, you'll start to see how instead of using, you know what I mean, when especially when words or phrases get large, like you know what I mean, this is a perfect time to share my screen. Uh, but when phrases start to get kind of large and cluttered, you'll start to see certain things drop off, like the Y in the middle might drop off depending on, or like how we use conjunction or connecting words like but or in or of or from or something like that. Those will drop off as well. You know what I mean? Those filler words, as we would call them, they'll drop off as well. But that's just how our language. That's just how black people are. You know what I mean? Just like how I just said, I use this example all the time. How I say, you know what I mean, all the time. That's a shortened version of "Do you know what I mean?" It's just how black people talk, and it's the exact same thing with the Hebrew. So when you see you'll see certain things drop off, or certain things just be implied. You know what I mean? Just for practicality's sake, right? But point is, that's where you see everything come alive. That's where you see everything come together. We just talked about doing tense, the ing. You'll see I believe ya in the middle means it's like using ed in a general sense, like past tense in a general tense or general sense. But you also have like past, present, and future tense in specific contexts. Like if you wanted to say, like we got on the board right now, uh, with using the word see, right? You would, or if you're talking about a verb and you're trying to conjugate the verb into past, present, or future tense, then you would have to, you know what I mean? Or if you're trying to say a word in past, present, or future tense in a certain perspective, then you would have to conjugate it for that perspective. Meaning like the word see, right? Ra'ah. If you wanted to say I see, which is anya ra'ah, if you want to say I saw in past tense, instead of putting that y in the middle, because now you have a particular context, you would conjugate that verb to that context. So you would say anya ra'ataya. That's how you would conjugate a verb into past tense. You know what I mean? With and then there's the same thing for how you would say you see or you saw. Ra'ata, ra'ata. He saw, she saw, we saw, y'all saw, they saw, right? So on and so forth. There's a conjugation for each one. I won't go into the details because we taught this class several times. If you'd like me to, I will. Uh, but but you got those for past tense. You got the same concept for present tense and for future tense. All right, and you'll see them all in action during Sabbath service as we're reading. All right. I believe we went into. I can't remember if we went into. I think the only thing we have went into in the detail is past tense. Uh, I believe future tense is is another one that we've gone into. All right. Or no, actually we haven't gone. I think that's the only one. Past tense is the only one we've gone into, but we will go into present and future tense later. You know what I mean? We've just been caught up with answering questions and things like that. I mean, meeting brothers where they at. All right, so we gonna go ahead and get into it. I just wanted to lay that out because what you're gonna see and I'm gonna point it out as well. But what you're gonna see as we're reading is just things that we've gone over already. All right. So lock you. All right. Let me see how many. See if I can break this up. All right, I'll go ahead and read it straight through, and I'm gonna read it real deliberate and real. As a matter of fact, let me expand this real quick. But I'm gonna read it in a way that's gonna be. Let me know if y'all can see that on the screen. If you watch it from your cell phone or, you know what I mean, it might be a little bit more difficult to see. Let me see. Salakia. All right, but if you're watching from your TV or if you're watching from your phone or from a smaller device, it might be a little bit more difficult to see. What I would do is just you know what I mean, if you got another device to watch from, that's cool. If you could split your screen and have Bible Hub on the bottom screen and YouTube on the top or whatever you watching on, or you know what I mean, I believe if you got a certain subscription on YouTube, you can have it play in the background. Like if you got YouTube Premium, you can have the class play in the background while you're reading along in Bible Hub. All right, so all of those are your options. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and read, but I'm gonna read in a way that's what I mean deliberate, so that you can see the differences, so that you can learn that. Like well, I'll go ahead and break it down in a little bit. All right, so the book of Leviticus, chapter 5 and verse 13 in the Hebrew. Wakapar al Yawa hakahan al ha. What's like it? Let me start over. Wakapar al Yawa hakahan al ha ta'athwa ashar the ta'a ma salakia ma'achath ma'allah wa nasalach lawa wahaya wahayatha la kahan kama nacha. Right. Salakia. Are we gonna take it from the top? All right. So as you reading, right, this is something that you can. This is why I always encourage brothers and sisters to. Let me see if I could. See if I can zoom. No, I ain't gonna mess with it. But this is why I encourage brothers and sisters to open up Bible Hub and just read, right? Every now and then, just open up Bible Hub and just read it, skim through it, find definitions, learn how to use the different resources. Uh, because these are things that you can't do during Sabbath service. Like during Sabbath service, it's the big stage, so to speak. Like, you know what I mean? During Sabbath service, there's no I mean, it's not really much room to ask Lashawan Qadash related questions. It's not really much room to do it because we trying to get through a service. We trying to get through these 49 verses in the Hebrew, in English and in Hebrew. All right, plus the prayers and all of that and the other things in the service. All right. So your best bet is to start reading the Lashawan Qadash outside of Sabbath service so that you can ask questions, so that you can get breakdowns, so that you can look up definitions. You can refer to different resources to help you understand what words mean, so you can build your vocabulary, so on and so forth. You know, I mean, there's so many different reasons why it's best to just read Bible Hub outside of Sabbath service. Right. With that being said, tonight we're gonna take advantage of a couple of the benefits of reading during Lashawan Kodash class, right? So when you're trying to understand, so why kapar, right? The reason why I read it like that, as I said, I'm trying to read it in a way that's put that you'll be able to identify it with your ears, right? So why kapar, why would be you by just knowing the four steps that we talked about earlier, identifying the root word, your preposition, your possessive and the tenses. By knowing those four things, uh, you know that, or you can infer rather, because sometimes as you read and you might get things wrong, which is why it's good to have the resources. But you can infer that the why at the beginning is a preposition because it usually is. It's used commonly. You see it often. So whenever usually when you see a why at the beginning of a phrase, you can often assume that that's a preposition that means and, right? Right. Especially, and this is a continuation of what we left off of last week. So anytime you see a continuation, uh, like your oppressor, I believe in English, they say you can't start a sentence off of and. Well, in Hebrew, we do it all the time. We'll say, do this, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And then after this happened. And after this happened. That's how you know what I mean we talk. All right. So why, if why is the preposition, right? And let me go back and highlight. So if why is a preposition, right? Then that means kapar would have to be your root word. Because I don't see any possessives or tenses within, right? You know, especially if you especially if you don't see if you see a root word that has 2 to 3 characters, you can assume probably that this is your root word, even if you don't know for sure. All right. So why kapar, right? If you don't see you know, what I mean, if you see 3 characters, you don't see any characters in the middle, or you don't see any possessives at the end, you can assume that that's your root word. Now, before I click on this concordance code, because that's how you for sure find out. Well, that's how you for sure find out what words mean. I'm gonna just read what I see down here at the bottom in the red. The red is gonna tell you what things mean, right? Or it's gonna give you the English translation. All right. So sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't quite line up. All right. Uh, because English isn't spoken like Hebrew and vice versa. All right. So sometimes things don't line up perfectly all the time, but you know, what I mean, the definitions are there. All right. So, and make atonement. Right. So we already said that wa means and, so that takes care of and right here. So what's left is shall make atonement. So you can assume that kapar means to make an atonement. All right. Now let's see if we was correct. We click on that concordance code. Scroll down. What it says, an atonement. Right. So it says appease, make an atonement, cleanse, disannul, forgive, be merciful, pacify, pardon, purge, right? Everything we just said in the previous on the previous page. All right. All right. So and make atonement, wakapar, alyawa. Let me see. I believe last week we was talking about basically like how the priests, how every level of society, right? So like Officer Tabazar was talking about last week. You know what I mean? The Most High isn't a respecter of persons. Meaning like your oppressor, like for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Donald Trump, right? Uh you know what I mean? Or I start with us, right? So if you know what I mean, you got a F on your record, right? You you might have made some mistakes, you might have did this, that, and the third when you was young, you know what I mean? Whatever the case is, I won't make no excuses, but you might have did some things, right? You know what I mean? Ended up with a felony, right? Spent your time in prison where you're supposed to be rehabilitated, right? And then try to rejoin society, try to get you a job, try to, you know what I mean, you might, you know what I mean, get a felony for whatever, you know what I mean? It might be something violent, you know what I mean? It might be something drug related, it might be, you know what I mean, whatever the case is. You go to jail, get quote unquote rehabilitated, come back out, try to rejoin society, and instead of going into that lifestyle where you were surviving off of robbery, surviving off of violence, you know what I mean, surviving off of drug trafficking or drug abuse or whatever the case is, just things like that. Instead of doing that, you might try to get a just an honest 9 to 5, a nice paying, you know what I mean, honest wage, right? Well, if you try to rejoin society as a black man, if you got a felony on your record, it's not very many jobs that you can get. You know what I mean? But Donald Trump has 34 felonies. You know what I mean? 34. He's a 34 count felon, yet he's the president of the United States. You know what I mean? So it just shows you that your American government has respect to persons. You know what I mean? They have respect to persons where a little old black man like myself or you know what I mean, thousands of black, Hispanic, and Native American brothers and sisters, you know what I mean? You got one felony, you could barely, you know what I mean? You got one felony, you go to McDonald's and try to, you know what I mean, drop fries for $7 an hour. They're gonna be looking at you sideways. Even if you get the job, they're gonna be looking at you sideways and they're gonna scrutinize you about this felony, you know what I mean, on your record. Meanwhile, so they don't have respect to you, but they got respect to Donald Trump because he has money. The Most High isn't like that. So what we was going over, I believe, last week in Sabbath service, where every level of society, whether you're the top of society, whether you're wealthy or whether you're a ruler, whether you're a priest, whether you're you know what I mean, an elder, whether you're, you know what I mean, a just a common man. Even if you're poor, I believe we went over that as well. Even if you're poor, you know what I mean, there was everybody had to, you know what I mean, follow the same law. And if you broke the law, the rules was the same. You know what I mean? And it talks about all of those things. So this is where we picking up right here. I believe we might be talking about the priest. All right. So let me read it in the English as a matter of fact, which is also another benefit that you got being involved in Sabbath or being involved in what's it called for Lashawan Qadash class, right? Where you can go into the English, get the context, read it in the Hebrew, right? Let me see, Leviticus 5:13. All right. All right, so I'm gonna start at verse 11. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he that sins shall bring for his offering the 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. Then shall he bring it to the priest, and then and the priest shall take his handful of it, even a memorial thereof, and burn it on the altar according to the offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a sin offering, right? So, like I was talking about before, this is talking about, you know what I mean, if you're, this is making provisions for the poor, right? And verse 13, and the priest shall make an atonement for him as touching his sin that he has sinned in one of these, and it shall be forgiven him. And the remnant shall be the priest as a meat offering. Right? So this is just a continuation of that. All right. So Wakapar al Yawa Hakahan. All right. So Wakapar and make an atonement. All right. And to make an atonement. Right. Al Yawa. Right. Al means over or for. Right. Over upon. Let's go ahead and see the. There's a lot of, and what I recommend as well for brothers is to write down these connecting words. So on, upon, over, against, concerning, because of, by, beside, right? So just to put it in perspective, right? If you say we're fighting over something, you're fighting concerning a matter. You're fighting because of something, right? Right. So all of these, that's why it's the same word. Like if you're talking about literally being on top of something, like I'm teaching on the podium, the laptop is on the podium, upon the podium, right? The the Franken myrrh is burning over the podium. You know what I mean, I put the incense over the coals, right? All of these are synonyms, right, for that reason. So I'll Yawa. So I'll means in this context for or because of, right? Because the priest is doing this for, you know what I mean? The priesthood is a service. You know what I mean? So the priest is doing this for the people. You know what I mean? For the Lord's people. Right? So I'll means for, because of, right? And then wa, I'm gonna get to the ya in the middle, but wa at the end means him. He it means he or him, right? Or it. He, him, his, or it, right? And to make an atonement over him, the priest, right? Right? Al Yawa. Okay, so like the ya in the middle, right? The ya in the middle is used as a buffer between a root word, which will be I'll, right? And wa at the end, which is a possessive. That's what that ya in the middle does. It's used as a buffer, right? Right. Ha kahan. Kahan is the root word. So like your kahan is the root word. So ha kahan, ha is a preposition that means the, right? So ha kahan, which we saw over and over and over and over again in Leviticus the fourth chapter, which is the previous chapter we just got done reading, right? We kept seeing it. We're gonna see it over and over again. We're gonna keep seeing it. So it will behoove brothers to just get that word into your memory. Should be a word that we already familiar with. You know what I mean? It's in plenty brothers' name. Captain Kahan Thamyad, Officer Kahan Gabar. You know what I mean? You see it plenty of times in you know what I mean, in the Torah. All right. So Ha Kahan, right? The priest. I'll means for, right? Or because of or concerning, like we just looked at a second ago, right? I'll ha ta'athwa, right? Salakia. Ha ta'athwa, right? We saw this a lot too. Ta'a, raw root word. Ha, so like it. Ha ta'a, ha ta'a. Let me go back. Maybe I think oh, ha ta'a, salakia. Salakia, the word in a little small. Ha ta'a is the root word, right? That tha at the end is categories, right? So you'll see, right? You'll see this at the end. You know what I mean? Because this is talking about like you. There's obviously there's different sins you commit. You know what I mean? There's different categories of sin you could commit. You know what I mean? You could take someone's life. You can steal from a brother. You can, you know what I mean, lie. You can commit adultery. You know what I mean? So with words like that, with variations or like different varieties, so to speak, you'll tend to see that tha at the end, right? And then wa, like we talked about earlier, that wa at the end is he, his, or it, right? So wakapar al yawa hakahan al khata khata athwa, right? Ashar is another root word that we should be plenty familiar with, right? Ashar uh means a couple things. It means that, it means which, it means as a what's the word? Not sure what part of speech this is. Conjunction. Okay, as a conjunction, it means, and this is a perfect explanation, a connect and link conjunction. All right. It shows, you know what I mean? It shows a connection between one thing and to another. All right. So char, after, like, as, because, every, for, uh, let me see if I can find some. But you'll see it in place like wherever you will use the word that, right? That or which, like you see in these I think this is what it says in the English. But where you will see which or that or or in or any of those things, and you'll see ashar there. Now there's another definition for ashar, you know what I mean, that's used a little differently. Ashar means, I believe it means happy, and it also means salakia. But it definitely means to be happy. You know what I mean, right? Which is where one of the sons of Israel, Asher, gets his Asher in the English, Ashar in the Lashawan Qadash. But that's not this, right? This is a different use, right? And you want to just make sure you don't confuse the two, right? All right, because like I was you know, we was talking about, I believe last week, you can use each of these different resources for different things, right? So you can use a Bible Hub to see words and how they're used in real time, like in speech, in the scriptures. You know what I mean, you'll see how they're used in real time. But what you don't want to do is click on this thinking this is related to like Asher. You know what I mean, in the scriptures. You don't want to click on this and think this is related to Asher and think that his name means which or that, right? So to find the, so instead of using Bible Hub, unless you're gonna go to Genesis, unless you're gonna go to Genesis 30, let me see if I can find it. I believe we went over it last week. Let me see. Genesis 30 and 13. Let me go to it real quick. 30 and 13. All right, so and let me go to Bible Hub as well. So let's see if y'all can see this. All right, so this is Asher talking about his name. All right, so we just saw here. Let me go back in Leviticus 15 and or Slakia. In Leviticus 5 and 13, this Asher or Ashar in Hebrew, how it's pronounced in Hebrew, Ashar. This is used as a conjunction, right? So you see that here, but then you go to Leviticus 30 and 13, and where it says, and Leah said, "Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed," and she called his name Asher. All right. So she called his name Asher. Now let's see what Asher is in the Hebrew. So Waha Amar La'a Ba'ashar Ba'asharya. All right. Ba'asharya Kaya Ashar Ashar it's like an Ashar Waniya Ba Banwath Wa Salakias. Wa Thakwara Ath Sham like Shamwa Ashar. All right. All right. So you see right here, Asher again. I believe the concordance code back here is 834. This concordance code here is 836. All right. All right. Which is why, I mean, unless you're going to like, this is a example where you can go about it two way. You can go about it a couple ways. Which also when you're using the different resources to be able to like find information, to be able to learn new things, to be able to, fact check and double and triple check your, your understanding. There might be a couple different ways that you could go about it. And this is one of those examples. But I just wanted to point this out because, looking at this, the reason why that these concordance codes or these words have different concordance codes is because they can have the same word or you can have the same word with the same spelling, but depending on the concordance code that you see there, it means a different thing, right? So you just want to be careful, and this is where I would go to the dictionary. Like this right here will be like a um kind of like a this will be, I guess you could call it a dictionary. There's a more concise and more accurate version in the back of your concordance in your concordance. And you can also get a more accurate and concise version on Kindle, like we talked about, like we talk about often. But you could do either one of those things. But this is why I would use like it's why it's good to know how to use all these resources, because if you just rely on one resource, or if you just rely on what you see off of face value, right? If you just rely on what you see off face value, then you can make mistakes, right? Which is why like we was talking about earlier, which is why uh which is why your Christian church, they look at words like neighbor, they look at words like Gentile, and they think that neighbor means whoever lives next to you, which, because of our envy and, our envy to want to live amongst our oppressor, we automatically think neighbor means oppressor, right? Or Gentile. When you see the word Gentile, that's a word that can mean other nations, depending on context, or it could refer to Israelites who have been Hellenized, right? But again, you know what I mean, because of the allure of our, you know what I mean, our people wanting to be like our oppressor, wanting to live amongst our oppressor, wanting to save our oppressor, whenever the Christian church sees Gentiles, whenever they see neither Greek nor Jew, whenever they see neighbor, whenever they see brother, they automatically go to think about our oppressor, right? But that's the importance of, you know what I mean, that's the importance of this right here. All right, where we leave off at. All right, so we're gonna go back to, let's see. All right, all right. So Ashar, you know what I mean, and also sidebar. This is also another, you know what I mean, another misnomer that the Christian church and these fake Israelite groups who are Christians as well, just like General Mayak said in that video we played at the beginning of the class. You know what I mean? These fake Israelite groups don't know what the hell they doing. These fake, you know what I mean? These individualites don't know what the hell they doing. You know what I mean? So they go around where the Most High says his names in several places in the Bible. You know what I mean? His name is said, the Israelites, the brothers, you know what I mean, the Israel knew the name of the Most High God. You know what I mean? It's said in several places in the Bible. You go to Psalms 83, which we're going to go into tonight, or we're going to go into during Sabbath service. And what is it? Exodus 3 and 15. You know what I mean? It says, the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. It says Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. Uh, I believe when Moses was dealing with, or the Most High was dealing with Moses, and he asked, "Who should I say sent me?" He's saying, "I." He said, "Tell him I am sent you." He said, "I am that I am." Tell him I am sent you. Uh, but I believe later in that same chapter, which you know, what I mean, these fake, which I don't understand how they missed this, but like in that same book chapter, that same book and chapter, he goes on to say, "But this is my name, my." You know, what I mean, they haven't known me by this name because at this point he hadn't said his name yet. His name hadn't been mentioned. You know what I mean, but uh, later in that same book and chapter, he says, "But the they haven't known me by this name, which is Yahweh." You know what I mean? But yeah, stay up out of those Christian Israelite groups, man. You know what I mean, ISUPK is the one and only home of the truth, man. You go up into them other Israelite groups, you're gonna find out that your leader like getting pegged. You know what I mean? Like in Sakari, or you know what I mean? They like to do diabolical things with little girls and things like that. You might find out that your Israelite group leader is a flaming LGBTQ member. You know what I mean? But you know, what I mean, back, you know, what I mean, getting back to the point, right? But that's where these fake Israelite groups get Ashar, Ahaya, Ashar, right? Or what is it? Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. That's where they get that from, because Haya means be. Ah as a preposition means I or I am. Ahaya means I be or I am, right? And then Ashar that, and then Ahaya I am. You know what I mean, that's where they get that from, which is absolutely nonsensical and untrue. You know what I mean? That is not the Most High's name. That's just something that he said to Moses. I mean, right, Salakia. Something, it's basically like he, you know what I mean? He's checking Moses. You know what I mean? It's like when you say, when you tell your kids to do something and they say, but why? Why do I have to do this? And you respond, because I said so. You know what I mean, when you say something, that's what the Most High is doing to Moses. All right. He's not saying his name is I am. But that's where they get this from as well. You know what I mean? This word ashar that we just went into. All right. Where we at? Chata'a, right? We just went over that. Khata'a, or I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't think we went into it. Oh, Khata'a wa ashar Khata'a, right? Khata'a is sin, right? To sin, to miss, to go wrong, to incur guilt, right? Right. So sin is the transgression of the law. All right. So whenever it's talking about sin in the Bible, it's talking about us not keeping these commandments. Like this what we've been going over, you know what I mean, in Genesis and in Exodus and Leviticus, you know what I mean, the Most High is giving Moses, he gave Moses the law. I mean, he gave Moses the law to give to, you know what I mean, Aaron and the people, you know what I mean? And we were to pass these instructions down throughout our family, throughout our lineages, all those different things. All right, so that's what you're seeing right here. So when you start to see things like how to make an atonement for sin, it's talking about how to make an atonement or how to pay the, you know what I mean? Well, I want to say it like that, but how to, you know what I mean, atone for transgression of the law, right? So sin is just the transgression of the law. All right. So when you see these, I heard somebody say something goofy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? These blackity black folk, you know what I mean, these fake woke people, you know what I mean, they say all sorts of loony things. But sin is the transgression of the law. That's all it is. Right? Right. Ma Ma'achath, right? Achath comes from the word akkad, right? Now when you're dealing with numbers, I gotta revisit this or why. But when you're dealing with numbers and when you're talking about like let me see. Let me see. Salakia. Let me go back. Leviticus 5 and 13. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as touching his sin, that he hath sinned in one of these, and there shall be forgiven him, and the remnant shall be priest and as a meat offering. When you see numbers like used like in like certain ways in like general speech, or like when you're counting something, uh a lot of times you'll see like you'll see a tha, you'll see a tha at the end, like I believe when we go to when we talk about the seventh day or the Sabbath, is Shabbath, which is built off of the word Shabbai, right? But instead of Shabbai, it'll be Shabbath. Or when you're talking, uh, like when you're talking about the second, or you know what I mean, something like that, or you're talking about like counting or something. You know what I mean? I would have to revisit it and ask specifically why this tha is here. But you'll see it a lot like with numbers. Like depending on how that number is used, you'll just see that tha at the end. All right. Ma'akath, ma'ala. Let me see. Can't remember this one off the top of my head. Okay. So Allah is a root word. And that's again, I mean, just I mean, when you read in again, when you read in the scriptures in the Lashawan Qadash, when you're reading in Bible Hub, and outside of Lashawan Qadash class or outside of Sabbath service, then you don't have to know you don't have to know. This is where you learn. Like this is where you learn and train. This is why we read the scriptures in Sabbath service in Hebrew. You know what I mean, right? So you don't have to know. So you can just click the concordance code and then boom. You didn't know what my Allah was. Now I'm about to break it down. You know what I mean? Or now you could break it down yourself. You know what I mean, like I'm about to do now. Like it slipped my mind a second ago. Uh, Click on the concordance code, and it'll just tell you these things, those. All right. So that's usually how Allah, not to be confused with Allah meaning power, God, messenger, or authority, but Allah, and Ha. Right. I mean these or those. right? Right. You see it right here. These are those. Oh, Salakia. I don't even think I had it on the screen this whole time. But you click on that concordance code and it'll tell you all those things. So ma'ala, ma is a preposition that means of or from. Right. So one of these, right? Ma'ala, of these, right? He's talking about atoning for sin. So if you've committed uh one of these sins, this, that, and the third, this is what you do. Right? Right. And why na salach. Why na salach. Right? Why is a preposition that means and. Salak. Salak means forgive. Right? Forgive. Like we say all the time, salakya. That's where that comes from. And a lot of times, I'll notice as well. Like we'll say words all the time, right? We'll say words all the time. We'll say salakya to the men above me, salakya if I may. Like if we offend a brother or sister, you know what I mean, we'll say salakya. This, that, and the third. But then when we get to the scriptures, when we read in Bible Hub and we see the exact same word in Bible Hub, then we'll be kind of confused, right? We won't know what it is. We will kind of be hesitant. Same with brothers' names. Like I see it all the time, where a brother say a brother's name all the time, even with our own name. Like I mean, we'll be used to seeing and saying brothers' names in the school, brothers that we see every day, that we have drinks with every day. You know what I mean? Names of our children, the names of our sisters, things like that. And then we get to Bible Hub, and we won't be able to recognize them. All right. That's what you're seeing right here. You know what I mean? Salak is a word that you see all the time. You know what I mean? Let's not forget what we already know, trying to learn something new. Right? Salak means forgive. Right? Same context as when we say forgive me. Salak, yeah. Forgive me. Right? Salak just means to forgive. Right? The why in the beginning is and I believe the na has something to do with future tense. I could be wrong. I got to revisit it, but I believe the na has something to do with future tense. I just got to double check on that. All right. Of course, good night. Of course, I left my books at the crib. I got to do a little bit better on that. All right. All right. All right. Next phrase, lawa. All right. Lawa. This means this is a preposition, la, which means to or for, and then wa, meaning him, he, his, or it, lawa, which is also where the brother Levi gets his name. All right. See if I can find it real quick. All right, Genesis 29 and 34. All right, I believe we went over this last week. I wanted to get a couple more to tribes. 29 and 34. With Genesis 29 and 34, and she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. All right. So Levi's name comes from this phrase that we just looked at just now. Let's share this instead. Lawa. Right. So Levi is Lawaya. Right. But lawa is to, either it's la meaning to, wa meaning he, his, or it. Right. So in that context, it'll be to it. And here, right here, is to him. Right. but in that context, to it, right? Or to join. You know what I mean? Right. So that's how that word is built, right? And then the Yah at the end means me, right? Joined. That's why it says in Genesis 29:34. Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, right? This is Rachel and Leah, uh, competing for, you know what I mean, competing for their husband. You know what I mean, and you know what I mean. I believe this is Leah. She's like, all right, I've given him three sons, so he'll be joined to me, right? So that's where that comes from, Lawiya, Lawiya, right? Joined to me. So Wahayatha, right? And B, right? Stem from the root word, stem from the root word Haya, which we talked about a second ago. Ashar, when fake Israelites say Ashar, Ahaya, Ashar comes from the phrase Moses, or when the Most High said to Moses, "I am that I am." Uh, Haya means to be or am, right? I say, right. So to him and be la kahan. To kahan means priest, right? Just like it meant priest. Where was it? I believe we mentioned it. Yep, up here. Ha kahan. Kahan means priest, right? La kahan means two priests, right? Katha kathanatha, right? Or kam, it's like a kamanatha, like offering or like a gift, like to give, right? So that's what mathan means. Mathan means to give or to gift. The ha is a servile tense, right? Then the ka at the beginning means like or as. Salakia. All right. All right, with that, you know what I mean, we're gonna end class right there. We're gonna pick up right here during Sabbath service and read, you know what I mean, we're gonna read this in the Hebrew. All right. We're gonna break it down into English. Uh what was I gonna say before we close out? Salakia, I know, you know what I mean, the title says Hakach breakdown. Bear with me. You know what I mean? We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it, and we're gonna do exactly what we just did tonight. You know what I mean? We're gonna do exactly what we did tonight, where we're gonna take it phrase by phrase and break it down what each character means, what each phrase means, and the different parts of each phrase. You know what I mean? The Hakach is no different. You know what I mean? When you go to the prayer for the power, it's structured the exact same way. Each phrase is made of prepositions, possessives, root words, and tenses. All right. So that's all we're gonna do. We just gonna break down each part so that you can understand when we turn and face the east and say the prayers, you can know exactly what you're saying. All right. With that, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share it with your loved ones. Make sure you share it with your friends and all of that. You know what I mean? Uh, and you can hit that QR code in that top corner. And morning, noon, and night, there'll be a brother in that chat to answer all your questions and solve all your problems. With that, we'll go ahead and give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Shalom Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Brakathum to all the brothers. And Shalom Yahweh Shemar Lathan Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai to all the sisters.